causing some people to maybe make some adjustments to justify their decision making.
And he makes a good point, Charles, that intelligence is only one small, well, maybe not small, but a piece of the puzzle. You can go back to criticize intelligence as far back as the Vietnam War, perhaps much earlier than that. You look at the situation with George Tenet during the Bush administration, where he said that the fact that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction was a, quote, slam dunk.
Well, in the Iraq case, it's a hell of a coincidence that every other intelligence agency in the world, the Germans, the French, the British, the Israelis, who had a high interest in this, concurred with Saddam having the weapons of mass destruction. But in this particular case with Obama, he sent out the signal from the first weeks he was in the White House, when he abolished the term the war on terror, and then his theme in his re-election campaign. And this is what I think sort of trapped him into this status where he is now, in denying as much as he can deny. The theme of the 2012 campaign was, the tide of war is receding, Al-Qaeda's on the run and has been decimated. So, and he ran on that, and there's a lot of evidence that they tried to make that case. That's why with the Benghazi, they had to invent the video, because otherwise the truth contradicted this idea. And that carried him into his re-election. Now he's sort of stuck with that. I mean, I don't really know whether he truly believes, for example, that ISIS is less of a threat than just about everybody in the world thinks, or whether he's being cynical about this. It's not a good choice, either delusional or cynical. I'm not sure which to choose. The benign explanation is that he got trapped into this running into 2012, and he's stuck with the narrative that the tide of war is receding, and he keeps trying to insist on that, as we saw in the press conference he had over in Turkey, which was a disaster. And I think that's really where he is. A sort of denial, but quite cynically doing it because he knows that his claim to fame, his foreign policy achievements, such as it is, was going to be ending the tide of war and suppressing and decimating the terrorists.
Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just to pick up on what Charles is saying, I mean, Michael Flynn, the former director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, somebody who's worked at the highest levels of the U.S. intelligence community, really for several decades, but especially in the past 10 years, said the other night on Megyn Kelly's show, the president effectively misled the country in the lead up to the 2012 presidential election. And Flynn says at the time he was providing intelligence to the president, to the White House, that was included in the presidential daily brief that said that Al-Qaeda had doubled in strength. And the president was running out and telling the American people that Al-Qaeda had been decimated. And to Tom's point about Iran, I have three, in this article and a previous article, I have three senior DIA officials on the record saying that we have a lot to learn about Iran's role with respect to supporting Al-Qaeda that's in these bin Laden documents, but has not been released, and their view is the administration is preventing its release because the administration was hell-bent on this nuclear.
Right, a quick question to you. At the time, the CIA was sitting on this treasure trove of Osama bin Laden documents. Who was the director of the CIA?
David Petraeus. And he was basically on two sides of this dispute. Early, he was in favor of allowing CENTCOM and the DIA team access to these documents because they're the ones providing intelligence to the warfighters. But at some point along the line, he flipped. Late spring, early summer of 2012, he flipped and no longer wanted this other team to have access.
Let me interject. Was it that at the time when rumors were surfacing that he was having an affair?
Well, the official story is he didn't find out, and nobody found out until the fall. And of course, he wasn't let go from the CIA until after the election. So we don't know about that, but there are people who certainly have raised those questions.